The Treasury Department says tax filing season for 2021 returns will begin on January 24th. That's exactly 2 weeks from now, so prepare. But as CBS News reports, the Internal Revenue Service is already facing a backlog. Officials warn this year is going to be a challenge due to complications from the pandemic. For more on this, I want to bring in Sarah Ewall-Wice. She's a CBS News reporter covering economic policy. Sarah, thank you for joining us. Now, what's behind the IRS's backlog this year, and could this have been handled better?
Well, in terms of could it have been handled better, I think that remains to be seen as we enter tax filing season, and it depends on also who you ask. But this has been a long-going challenge for the IRS, and it has been compounded by the coronavirus pandemic. So keep in mind, back in 2020, when the pandemic hit, the IRS had to close its mail processing centers for about a month, and that kind of built the backlog that they had that year. But that then ended up carrying over to 2021, and now we're going into 2022 with a new tax filing season starting later this month, and they also still have an increased backlog from last year. So what we know right now is usually, according to officials, they have less than 1 million items to address heading into a new tax filing season. Officials said today that they have several times that, and this is going to pose enormous challenges with getting tax filing season underway without delays and making sure that those refunds get out to people on time. So we know that there's that backlog issue. The other challenge that the IRS is facing and continues to say that they need more of is resources. And this has been an ongoing issue for the past decade. The IRS has lost a lot of its workforce, about 20% of its workforce. An official said today that they're working with workforce levels from the 1970s. However, as we know, growth in the United States has gone up 60%. So they're processing way more returns, dealing with way more people. So that continues to be a challenge for them. And so they're also factoring that in as they start tax filing season, as you said, January 24th, and that is supposed to run through April 18th.
Well, that sounds like an immense gap on resources and personnel. Now, what advice do you have, and what advice do Treasury officials have for people filing this year?
Yeah, so I think the thing that officials were trying to make sure was emphasized today is to file as early as possible. The electronic filing, free filing system actually opens on January 14th, so that then the electronic filings can start taking place on January 24th. And they have two key pieces of advice for folks as tax filing season gets underway. And the first one is to file electronically. They really want people to file electronically and use automatic deposit so that they can actually do away with the paper returns and having to get through those. The second piece of information that they want to make sure people are doing is they're making sure that they're filing their returns accurately. That will help them from being bogged down by processing delays if those returns are accurate, which means that they need people to have all the information they need to file and have the accurate numbers ready to go. Two things that they wanted to keep in mind when people are filing is make sure they have accurate information when it comes to the stimulus payments that went out last year for those who received those, and then also accurate information for folks who had received the monthly child tax credit payments from July through December. So those are two pieces of information that they want to make sure people have and can use. Something to keep in mind also as we talk about the challenges with the IRS is that they actually were only able to answer less than 30% of calls with questions that came in last year during tax filing season because of the challenges that they were facing. And so they're emphasizing that folks who have questions should really try to use the tools they have put online. They continue to build on online to try and answer some of those questions. But because what we know is in the first half of last year, a number that stood out to me is there were 15,000 people to answer 240 million calls to the IRS. That breaks down to 16,000 calls a person. So when you see a return rate or answering rate of less than 30%, that's not a surprise. But of course, that means a lot of people are going with questions unanswered, and they're trying to get people to really use the website and the online tools to help address some of that early on so they're aware of them.
Wow, well, airlines and the IRS use the online tools. You won't get a human on the phone. Now,
Yes.
what or how could this filing, right? How could this filing season look different for people who, as you mentioned, received stimulus checks or the child tax credit payments?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, that those are two pieces of information that need to be reported when they file taxes this year for folks who were eligible and received those. Something to keep in mind here is the IRS is sending letters out to folks who received those stimulus checks last spring with the amount that they received, making sure that they know that they were eligible. For folks who did not get those, who are eligible, this will let them know that they are eligible and that they can actually receive a rebate, which means more money for them come filing season. Separately, letters are going out to people and families who received the child tax credit payments that went out July through December. And so those will tell people how much money they received, but also keep in mind that folks who were getting those on a monthly basis actually are getting the second half of that in their tax return refund when they file. So what they can do here is make sure that they have the numbers accurately so that they can get the second half of that, which is a good amount of money. But also, this is something where it is fully refundable under the American Rescue Plan as a part of what passed last year. And so what happens is folks who were not required to file taxes because they didn't make enough income were eligible to receive those payments. Those people should be filing their tax returns this year, even though they weren't required to based on incomes, because they can still receive that lump, that second half of the child tax credit payment. The only thing that'll be different really for some people who had been getting those payments, when they get their return this year, they might see that the sum is smaller than it was in previous years. That's because part of it has already gone out in monthly payments, and so that part of it might be a smaller check than they were expecting when it comes to the actual tax filing season.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Sarah Ewall-Wice. We appreciate the advice. Dot your I's, cross your T's, fill out your taxes even if you're not required to.
Yes, that is what I will say. And also keep in mind, you have until April 18th this year, but do it early.
Many of us wait until that final date, just like expense reports. Sarah, thank you.
Of course.